Welcome back to the Thom Hartmann Program. I'm Alex Lawson, filling in for Tom, and I'm joined in studio by Bruce Berlin, the author of Big Money's Grip on America, and the state director of New Mexicans for Money Out of Politics. I'm going to resist only talking about how beautiful and awesome New Mexico is so we can focus on money and politics. But I want to say this little, I don't know, you probably can't read it right here. This little thing right here says, brilliant, read this book, Thom Hartmann. So when Tom says that something is brilliant, that means that it really is brilliant. So, Bruce, thanks for joining us. And
thanks for having me.
You know, money out of politics is, it's like a hub issue, right? There's a lot of issues.
Definitely.
There's a constellation of issues, but it really does basically tie a lot of them together. I don't think it's above or below any of the issues. I've heard a lot of people say it should be everyone's second or third issue, meaning you don't have to convince everyone that money in politics is the primary one, right? So I fight to protect and expand Social Security and Medicare to lower drug prices. So I'm not going to, it's not going to be the number one, but getting money out of politics is how you break the grip of the billionaires on Wall Street who are trying to destroy Social Security and Medicare, and the grip of the pharmaceutical industry, who is the clearest. They're the most corrupting industry out there, is the pharmaceutical drug industry. Getting money out of politics would literally help all the issues Definitely. On the right side of them.
And I would say that it is the overriding issue, because it's not just the pharmaceutical; it's the oil, big oil, and healthcare and immigration. Every issue is affected by the way that money corrupts the political system.
I couldn't agree more. And I mean, like one that I just saw recently, just to like lay out one of them. So ICE, you know, is big in the news because Donald Trump, you know, he's this xenophobic nativist sort of thing. So he's really like, you know, oh, we're going to build a wall, and you know, he empowers ICE. And he wants to zero out PBS. I want to zero out ICE and give their budget to PBS. That's my proposal. That's my personal proposal. But the number two guy at ICE, that's serious. I think we should zero out ICE, take that budget line, and move it over to PBS. But the number two guy at ICE just moved over to the private prisons, right? That is the exact route that this corruption plays, right? People in government actually know, some of them, you know, who aren't, they're not public servants. What they're doing is they're creating a path to the lucrative private industry job that's coming down afterwards. So there's all of these avenues in for big money to just distort the entire process. And in many,
you mentioned the pharmaceutical industry. I mean, and we now have this since 2003 in the Medicare Drug Bill Reform Act. Billy Tawson at the time was the chair of the committee that drafted that bill, and which prevented the government from negotiating for lower drug prices like Canada and most other countries do. And the next year, he went over to the private industry and got a job for $2 million a year as the head of pharma, the pharmaceutical industry's lobbying key branch.
Sometimes they actually, when they have the buyout, so there's the sellout, the buy-in, because it goes both ways.
Oh, definitely.
Sometimes they actually will pay like it's an exit bonus, but it's actually to make whole while their person goes on the inside to corrupt the process for them, when they come back out to their seven-figure job. I mean, it's so gross in this town, and it's notorious. So what are some of the activities that you think we can take? And all of that is like the Iron Triangle stuff, not to mention the money that's just pouring in because of Citizens United to just corrupt the entire electoral process. So what are some of the ideas you have for fighting back?
Well, first I want to make clear that the name of the book is Breaking Big Money's Grip on America. It's not big money, it's Breaking Big Money's Grip on America.
What did I say?
You skipped the breaking, which is the most important part.
I got to do it again. Yeah, you got to, thank you. The most important part, breaking big money's grip on America. I like that because it's the action that we're going to take to break it.
And if you look at American history, I find, and I think you'll find, that what really makes a difference in making these big changes is movements. The women's movement, the civil rights movement, the anti-Vietnam War movement, the LGBTQ movement. When millions and millions of people get together and push for a certain thing, it happens. It may take a long time. The women's suffrage was 70 years before the women got the vote. But that's what I think we need, a democracy movement.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that it's going to take this long, but
hopefully not.
But there's even longer. The abolitionist movement actually started before our country was even a country. During the Revolutionary War, there was abolitionist hope that the country could be founded as an anti-slavery country. There was a big movement. They thought, and then no, and it didn't occur until almost
1865.
Yeah, almost a century later. So these things, but through it all, what I think is important is the movement is what sustains the advocacy, the action, right? You need a movement because otherwise people can just kind of fall by the wayside or they can get tired. I always say the most radical act you can take is to get organized because it's only in being organized that you can really amplify your voice and your power, and you can rely on your neighbors and friends.
One of the biggest problems right now is that so many people are in despair because of the Trump administration. And the fact is that any action is better than no action. And even if it's the wrong action, it may lead you to the right action next time. But as you sit home in despair, you're never going to get anything done, and it only makes things worse. So you go deeper into your despair. So getting out there and doing something, joining an organization, protesting, petitioning, whatever it is.
Phone calls to your representatives and your senators, whatever it is. The most radical act, see, I do two superlatives, which isn't fair linguistically, but I still do it. The most radical act that you can take is self-care, because that despair is actually corrosive as well.
Definitely.
And so that's part of that self-care, though, is actually getting organized and not feeling alone and not thinking that you have to do everything alone. So the movement to break big money's grip on America, you're in New Mexico.
Yeah, we formed an organization called New Mexicans for Money Out of Politics, and it's less than a year old, last summer, and it comes out of some of the ideas from my book. And one of the main things we're focused on is the 28th Amendment to overturn Citizens United and to declare that money is not speech and corporations are not people.
Which is like so obvious
to me and you.
That money ain't speech, corporations ain't people.
Yeah.
How can people find out more about your organization, how they can get involved? They can obviously find your book, Breaking Big Money's Grip on America.
It's on Amazon, and my website is www.breakingbigmoneysgrip.com.
Breakingbigmoneysgrip.com. And, the 28th Amendment is basically what we would see from something like that is that our electoral system would look wildly different. We'd have a publicly funded system, and it would not be these billion-dollar campaigns. And, I think that would markedly change so many things about our polity, including who can get involved in politics.
Definitely. I mean, the fact is you got to be a billionaire or you have to be able to raise hundreds of millions of dollars in order to participate on that level.
So, I mean, you have to be a billionaire or you have to have a Rolodex filled with them right now. And that's not, the way that a functioning democracy should work.
And we're working with the American Promise, which is a national organization based in Massachusetts, and to work on this 28th Amendment.
Are you taking state actions? Are you finding pickup in New Mexico at the state level?
Yeah, our legislature only meets for a short time each year, but we did do some lobbying in January and February when they were meeting. Yeah.
So what is
another thing that is a key to this? I think is we just saw in this last election where Hillary Clinton won by 3 million people in the popular vote, but she lost the electoral college. So we'd like to get rid of the electoral college or get around it with this national popular vote compact. And if enough states come together with that have 270 electoral votes together, then the compact would go into effect, and all those states would guarantee that the popular vote winner in their state would get the electoral votes, regardless of who won the electoral college.
I mean, there's I love talking about this one. Getting rid of the electoral college would be very difficult, but reforming the electoral college is actually quite feasible.
Yeah, it's getting around it, really.
Yeah, you could do representational or proportional electoral college as well. You could have the states not be winner take all, but actually, you know, whatever the percentage is, 80% even, but it's always less than that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, 60% go to whatever candidate, and then 40 go to the other one.
Well, two states already have
exactly.
That, yeah.
And so we have a model, and that's a state. That's a state-by-state thing. So you could march that across the country and fundamentally change in a more majoritarian direction. So we only have about 30 seconds left here, Bruce. I opened up a big one there, but come back and we'll talk again.
Definitely.
Tell people where they can find your book and get in
You can
contact.
find it on Amazon, and you can find it on my website, breakingbigmoneysgrip.com.
Bruce Berlin, Breaking Big Money's Grip on America. You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program, and we'll be right back.